Okay, so are we ready to talk about the rapture? Here is a rundown of the reasons the tribulation could begin in 2017. Number one, it is 70 years from the United Nations decree to reestablish Israel, Resolution 181, which is 1948. Number two, it is a complete Jubilee cycle from the 1967 conquest of Jerusalem, 1967 plus 49 plus Jubilee year equals 2017, or 50 years. Jubilee is in the King James Bible. It is spelled Jubilee with one E. You just get rid of the one E, and that's the way it's spelled. It is a fact. And I've talked about these many times. Very important prophecy, number one. Both of these are very important. Because in this conquest of Jerusalem in the 1967 Day War, 6 days did Israel win a war over 3 nations. Each nation took 2 days exactly. Times 3 nations took 6 days. And on the 7th day, they rested just like God tells us to. The Sabbath day. But that's for Israel. But the main thing is that it was extremely biblical. God had his hand in the whole miracle. Number three, if the tribulation starts in fall of 2017, then that is in the 70th Jewish year from the rebirth of Israel in 1948. Alternatively, it is in the 69th biblical year from the rebirth of Israel, which would be a powerful symbol of the fact that the world would be about to enter Daniel's 70th week. Number 4, 2017 to 2024 offers the only timeline in recent memory where the tribulation of 2,550 days could begin unquestionably on a fall feast date and end on a fall feast date. In fact, the alignment is kind of shocking. Exactly 2,550 days fits with the tribulation beginning on the last day of the last fall feast, Tabernacles, October 11, 2017, and ending on the first day of the first fall feast, Rosh Hashanah, October 4th, 2024. This is particularly interesting in the light of the likely possibility Jesus will fulfill the final 3 fall feasts in short subsequent order while on earth, just as he fulfilled the spring feasts. The second coming could be on the Feast of Trumpets in 2024, allowing just Jesus to fulfill that feast, followed 10 days later by fulfillment of the Day of Atonement, and 5 days after that by the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles. Number 5, bolstering point number 4, the fall feasts in both 2017 and 24 occur after the autumnal equinoxes, so in those years there need be no doubt about when the feasts begin. No need to add an additional month, as some were suggesting we might have needed to do in 2015. Even going by a karate, I don't know how to pronounce that, karate calendar, the 2,550 days would still fit, simply adding 2 days to 10, 11, 17, and 2 days to 10, 4, 24. Number 6, Passover, the traditional date for the abomination of desolation, falls approximately 1,260 days after 10/11/17 and approximately 1,290 days before 10/4/24. As a matter of fact, 1,260 days after 10/11/17 is 3/24/2021, just 3 to 4 days before the Passover. This fits perfectly with the 2 witnesses' 1,260-day ministry, Revelation 11:3, followed by their lying dead in Jerusalem for 3.5 days, Revelation 11, verse 9. Very interesting there. Number 7, the Revelation 12 sign on Rosh Hashanah 2017. While Revelation 12 certainly describes some events occurring in the middle of the tribulation, we need to pay careful attention to Revelation 12, verse 3. When we say Revelation 12 sign, we are really referring to the first Revelation 12 sign, woman clothed with the sun, moon at her feet, pregnant, and crown of 12 stars. Most people completely miss that the second sign, which begins in verse 3, is the only sign that is for sure identified with the middle of the tribulation, dragon about to devour the child before the woman flees. The fact that there are two signs and not one is telling. Also, it is only after the woman flees that the last half of the tribulation begins, Revelation 12:6. Long story short, the sign in 2017 might actually be the sign of the pre-tribulation rapture of the church. For years, some very prominent scholars have thought the sign in Revelation 12 was always the strongest proof of a pre-trib rapture. Read about that here. There's the link for that, but I don't have it. Number 8, 2024 is year 6000 since creation, according to Johannes Kepler, who was the founder of a modern astronomy developed by the laws of planetary motion. He pinpointed 3977 BC as the year of creation. Since there is no year 0, 2024 would be exactly year 6000 since creation if his biblical calculations were correct. And why is this so important? Because in Genesis 6 it says, God says he will no longer strive with man's spirit at 120 days. That man shall live no longer than 120 years, not days, years. And so many people believe that this stands for 120 Jubilee years, which, when you multiply it out, turns out to be exactly 6,000. So that's what this is about. Number 9, 12th century, Rabbi Judah ben Samuel. Oh, let me just finish that though. The reason why God will no longer strive with man's spirit for longer than 120 years, which they believe is actually Jubilee years, and could be. I'm not saying it is for sure. So that this 6,000 would mark the start of the 7th millennium, which would be the 1,000-year reign of Jesus reigning on earth. But most important is that Satan is bound for the 1,000 years. So when the scripture says that God will no longer strive with man, it's because man doesn't have Satan tempting him. Satan is bound for the 1,000 years. A seal is put on him, Revelation 20. Number 9, 12th century, Rabbi Judah ben Samuel predicted 2017 as the year of the Messiah. Number 10, even though many have tried to add 49 prophetic years to June 7th, 1967, there was no actual decree to restore and rebuild Jerusalem on that day. However, there was a decree by the Knesset to restore and rebuild Jerusalem on April 1st, 1969. 49 times 360 days later would be July 18, 2017. Could this be the date the third temple is completed in preparation for the tribulation? Just saying. 11. Daniel 12:12 adds an additional 45 days at the very end of 1,290 days for a total of 1,335 days. Amazingly, exactly 45 days from the possible 10/4/24. Second coming date is Sheshvan 17, the same day in history that the great flood begins, Genesis 7 verse 11. This may in fact be the day that Christ's global judgment is completed. Number 12. The Shemitah year may actually be 2016 to 17, though Jonathan Cahn found an amazing pattern. He was looking at when economic crashes began, not when they reached their worst point. In the previous two cycles, the crashes reached their worst points in 2009 and 2, respectively, not 2008 and 2001. According to what many think is a more accurate Shemitah and Jubilee cycle, the next Shemitah year is actually 2016 to 17, and the next Jubilee year is 2017 to 18. See here, here, and here. But we do know that Jonathan Cahn did falsely prophesy that the destruction of America would happen in September 2015, last year. Number 13. Plus, Jesus says, call no man a rabbi. And Jonathan Cahn is calling himself a rabbi. Number 13. I believe so. I'm not quite positive, but I believe so. Number 13, 2017 is 50 years, a full Jubilee cycle from 1967, conquest of Jerusalem. 70 years, a complete generation from 1947, decree to reestablish Israel. We already went over this. 100 years, 2 complete Jubilee cycles from 1917, the Balfour Declaration, and 120 years, see Genesis 6:3, from 1897, first Zionist Congress, the first Jewish government since 70 AD. Number 14, in that day there will be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and pillar to the Lord at its border, Isaiah 19, verse 19. This one is pretty astonishing. See here why this may point to Rosh Hashanah 2017 and a second coming in 2024. Many thoughts to ponder, but just remember that the Lord can come at any time, even well before these speculative dates. Keep watching and looking up. Maranatha.